Are we recording? Are we recording? If you'll record for me, I'll order us recording. Good evening, everyone. We have a quorum present for the Parks Board meeting today with a start time here of 6:02. All right. Appears we have no citizens here to address us today. Let's see. Items of community interest. Haslet is hiring if you are interested in public parks, public works supervisor, parks and grounds maintenance worker, parks and grounds crew leader, or water maintenance worker. Please visit employment opportunities on the Haslet website. All right. Consent agenda. If we would like to look over our minutes from the last meeting and our financial budget. Usually it's the financial budget that poses the most question. Thank you. Oh. Can we have the financial budget? That's usually the one that has the most discussion. No, I just meant up here. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I see it. Does everyone else see it? Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. I don't have the other. This is from December.
In December?
And the year starts in October.
Oh, October, okay. That's why it's 25%.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So it's the fiscal year is October, but I know like for Christmas in the Park, it's an interesting event because Christmas in the Park double dip. So say we budgeted 20 grand for the event Christmas in the Park, usually about 10,000 of it comes out from the year before, and then 10,000 of it comes from the next year, just because of where the payments fall. But it usually balances somehow in that flip-flop. What is community outreach for 900, please?
Yoga money.
Oh, that's right.
And
I'm going to do better to remember that when I feel like I've asked it before.
you're looking at expenses or revenue?
Expenses.
Yoga money.
We don't make any revenue on yoga, right? We just pay the teacher.
You get a little bit, but it comes into the same account.
Okay.
And it, no, it does not balance. So you see community outreach revenue in the very first section?
Yeah.
Those numbers?
We had some bricks for memory lane. It says
One or two.
220.
Yeah, we did.
But I'm curious how it's 220. Did someone over contribute? I thought they
No,
were like
the
50.
tree, everything, all the memory stuff goes into that line. We don't have a line for memory tree or memory plaque or memory bench.
Right. Oh, okay.
And someone bought a tree and a plaque, and that was in honor
Oh, I
of
see.
David Rogers' mom.
Oh, okay.
That's what that money.
And then just because this is completely unrelated, what is the cost?
Ben?
Yeah, I'm just curious what they are.
Yeah,
It's
and
probably not even the same as
yet all those prices need to be
Can
evaluated.
we have those updated just for, maybe we can like publish it online? Get a
Okay.
chance.
yeah, because what's published
Because I know we have a
online-
bench, a brick, a plaque, and a tree.
Well, the plaque goes with It's the stone. What am I calling it? The wrong thing. It goes in
Yeah,
front of a
it's-
tree.
It's a granite memorial stone, so
Memorial.
it's about this big. No, I mean, it's granite, and we'll take a piece of granite. It's like same as a gravestone, but it's roughly 6 inches tall, probably 14 by 8, somewhere in there. It's kind of a weird size.
There's a couple next
And
to
then
trees
they'll
in
etch the
park.
same way or engrave into it the same way they do the brick, and it's just placed in front of the tree.
So can you additionally have a tree planted, like another?
Yeah, that's
tree?
usually with the tree.
Oh, that's with the
Yeah.
tree.
You can't
Oh,
buy
I see.
one without buying
Oh, okay.
a tree
So
or
you
a
get a
bench.
tree, and you get that stone there. And then all those prices that we had talked about, because I think even what was bought and paid for did not even cover that completely.
I think you're right. We do need to
So
update it.
they've had a increase in some of those costs.
And then can you flip through the minutes just so we can review those pages quickly? Nothing stands out to me. Any motion to move those and approve them? Everyone think they look good?
I move that we approve the minutes and the finance for December. Last
Those third motions to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
consent agenda, correct, yes.
All right.
Dana, I second the motion for the November minutes and the financial budget.
I have to pause for a moment. When our normal board members are absent, have we ever solidified they're not voting until we're sure? Because I'm pretty sure we were excluded from that, but we're gonna. Okay. Okay. All in favor? None opposed. Motion passes. Okay. For Easter egg hunt, that will be March the 23rd at 4 p.m. And it's usually a real quick hour in the park. Have y'all ever been? Those of you that have little kids, have y'all ever been to the Easter egg hunt? Big old fat madhouse, lots of fun. And I have a question. Does anyone have any teenage children? Okay, well, I have heard from the Easter bunny that we may be needing to acquire a new one. I have a 13-year-old that may fit the bill. I'm going to discuss with him, but I was hoping someone maybe had a little older one. So what that entails is we have a bunny head, and we have a bunny costume, and we have bunny feet. We just need someone to be in the bunny. And we actually started out paying Savannah $50, and then she almost died. Not really, but it was really hot. And we upped it to $100 just because it is so hot in that thing. That first year, I was literally like taking her into the shed and shoving a straw up her like head so the kids didn't see her. Finally, we just had to take her and take her head off because it was just so hot in there that. Anyways. Oh, that's right, because Easter's earlier. Won't be so heavily hot. So I will inquire with my teenage child, and if anyone has any teenage cousins or nephews or nieces that might want to be in the running, let us know. Okay. Do we have to order eggs? So are we at 24,000? Okay. So traditionally what they started before I even came, is to add 1,000 eggs for each year. And we divide them off into sections. And if y'all have ever packed eggs before, it's kind of a lot of work. So Katrina just orders them on Amazon. Ends up being about, what, 2,500?
Not Amazon, it's a company.
Or a company.
I forgot the name of entertainment company, and that's all they do is they sell stuff.
What
And
is it? Probably $3,000 now?
Yes.
It's probably going to be about $3,000, I would guess, to buy 24,000 pre-stuffed and filled eggs. They come in big boxes with a plastic bag in there. One year we had a couple extra boxes and a church had volunteered. We just kind of passed those off, but we don't normally, we forgot out. We usually keep a box or two back just in case there's a kid that's crying and got trampled and didn't get any, because that's not fair, you know. So we do age, but parents aren't very helpful. And I'm just going to say that bluntly. And they can't read signs and they don't know how to control their children. It's unfortunate, but I guess it's what the culture's become. So, correct. And then they'll take their kids from one age group and just keep moving them through all of them. And sometimes we do a pretty good job, I feel like, with the little infant one, just because it's the first one that we set off, and I'm mean. And I stand right there, and I'm like really mean. And if you're not a little tiny kid, I like will physically pick you up and move you out of the. I mean,
It would
you
be
know,
great if we could have a park board member at every section.
right.
Or two.
And we haven't had a lot of monitoring in the past, and so I think that's been. I think if everyone can come for an hour, and you know, you all are around, and everyone's around, and we can have a different section. But yes, we do like the little 0 to 2, and then like a 3 to 5, and then a 7 to 9. And then the older kids, last year there was a lot, but I don't know if it was just everyone was left over, but I felt like there were more older kids last year than we've had
I
before.
think we put 9 and up, and then we changed it to 9 to 12, but it didn't help. Like, you know.
Because my kids were like, oh, we're too big for that. We don't want to do it anymore. And so,
Yeah.
but there were still lots of kids in their age group that were participating. So, yes. So we need the eggs, and then James, if we can do that roping off thing again, I guess that's the easiest way.
Yeah, we can definitely do
Do we
that.
still have like the roping flag?
We bought a whole bunch of multicolored just nylon rope, and we put up PVC pieces. We roped that off and that's how we did it. I thought we did talk about last year that those spaces were so small anyway, and I think my suggestion would be to do just 2 groups, you know, a certain age and younger, I don't know, like 5 and younger maybe in one area, and then everybody else somewhere else.
No.
I just think it would work, and not rope, because it's such a small area. I think you spread them over a much bigger area, then
That's not what you said. You said let's move them way over here to the other field.
I said that was an option too.
In
But
my previous,
just a suggestion.
A lot of people think it goes too fast the way we do it. That was some of the feedback that we got last year, because the DJ comes and just says go to the next group, go to the next group. Last year it was so far you couldn't really hear the DJ. But when I lived in a HOA place, they would put a middle circle, and they had enough volunteers that they would just release the number of eggs for the age group, and then they would clear it out, and then they would say, okay, if you're in the age group of 3 to 4, and it was literally one section. And it takes a few minutes for, normally we go and throw the eggs out in advance, but if there's enough of us to throw them out in between, we could monitor, this is 0 to 2, if you're not 0 to 2, get out of here. And if there's enough, not like that, but if there's enough of us around there, how do you really know how old a kid is? You don't. You just have to hope that they're being fair, because there are going to be some kids that are maybe challenged, or maybe in a wheelchair, or maybe something else that don't necessarily need to go with the older kids. I don't know.
So real quick, it was my first one last year, and I really thought it was chaos out there. Parents were the worst, probably, just as bad as little kids. So we have to think how we're going to do it this year. Maybe it's just slightly different. Maybe it's the same way, but it was very chaotic last year.
We're members at the Trophy Club Country Club, and the way they do it is just like he does. Basically, 5 below goes 1, and then the rest go that. Because if you have multiple sections, they're just going to move, like you said, to one to another. But if you have 2, you're either going to do one or the other. You're not going to do both. So I do agree with James.
Did they go simultaneously at yours?
The little ones went first, and then the big kids.
Like 10 minutes later?
Yeah. They basically read.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, the one section, if you're
Correct.
under 5, you go now.
And
If
you
you're
do it
over
in the
5, you go
same
after.
section.
I see. I mean, I think it would be fine. We could still do one small roped off section, literally for 2 and under, because you're right. If you're under 2, you're going to get trampled if the big kids are in there. But if we did 3 to 6 and we did 7 and up, then that's a whole, I mean, I don't know. I think 3 to, I'm trying to think of like what age can fend for themselves. And I feel like by the time you're 7, you can fend for yourself. So maybe, right. So maybe if we do 3 groups, just the 2
Maybe.
and under.
I just think the size of it, with that many people that show up, if you
There was
put
a lot.
you put 500 people in this room, they could pick up the eggs in like 4 seconds.
Yes.
If you spread it over way more acres, I mean, it takes a lot longer to set it out, and you have to have a lot of people to block it off and keep people from getting in that area. I just think it might be one take longer to get and less trampling because more space.
What if we use the whole area and so where the tennis court is, for example, on the left side is 3 to 6 or whatever. What do we say? 3 to 7, 3 to 7, and then 8 and up. And they're spread out over all the acreage, like you're saying, and just let them go at the same time. So you're not in both places. If you're 3 to 7, you're over here, and if you're 8 and up, you're over here.
What if you're
And there's,
parent that you have
if you're 8 and up,
you have
okay,
over
yeah,
here.
8 and up.
that would drag?
I think, I don't know, we can discuss, and what does anyone else think? I agree that we should have 1 for 2 and under, but I'm fine to just do 2 additional groups if everyone else is okay with that.
Well, I just need to know when I draw up the sponsorship form in the past, each sponsor, you know.
A
have
section.
A section, so I can revise that somewhat.
I feel like the 2 and under be set up in advance, sponsored sign, because ideally that would be a smaller section, because babies don't run as fast as covers.
Yeah, one time we used like that, like inside the triangle. That
Where the playground is, and next to the sand volleyball little area. Yeah, I just think the attendance keeps going up, the amount of people there, and the smaller those sections are, just keep a very small area.
How much rough square footage are you talking about per today?
Well, this is the first year we've ever had the tennis court there in the way, so we've always set it up.
When we divided it off, some of them,
yeah, we don't have short answer.
100 by 100
I mean, you're
maybe.
thinking like football field, 2 football
no.
field, half a football field.
Half a
like,
football
just like,
field.
I'm not expecting like
The half football field maybe in certain sections.
For
It's
the older
just-
kids, I think it was about that
yeah.
big.
And that's just, there's just a lot of kids.
Have you ever thought about with the little ones, just because little kids being that in the tennis court, that are fenced in, contained, it would big kids out, little kids would actually contain inside of it. And, you know, it'd be easier for them to try to spot it versus put it in grass. They're going to miss a lot. It's going to be on top. That
Well, I
might be
think
an
the
option.
point is to have it in grass, and I'm not running off.
I will. Yeah. I have no problem with it.
Well, not that in Gamble you have fenced-in little playground, hide it on all the equipment. I mean, it depends on how many 2-year-olds you have.
Well, you got the parents who have played,
Yeah.
so try to put all of
Right. And then traditionally we've had, only the last couple of years Public Works have had any dealings with this. Last 2 years we've helped put up the fence and stuff. Do you think it's needed to have people on during the
You mean fencing?
Public Works? Like, are you thinking you need manpower during this event? We haven't typically
I
been
think
there.
that if we didn't have, is anyone for sure not coming that's here today? I mean, I know things happen, but if
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, so there's 2 for You'll be there, so 2, 4, there's at least 6 of us. I'm sure Cindy will be here. So,
I mean, I think it's a good idea to have a couple people there. The trash cans are definitely overflowing, and we definitely have some cleanup after.
We'll plan to
maybe
have
just 1 or
people.
2. Well, 2.
I think the biggest issue is kids here so far away from DJ that they used to have. Well, the DJ took the wireless mic and stood in the middle of each section, but I still don't think everybody
Yeah. And I think the
park's
bullhorn you
just
used
so
to have,
big.
that is long past not been functioning, but that's probably the only way you could reach that many people.
They just do it in the one section. So it's
Well,
all,
it's just in
Oh.
one section.
so they let the younger ones go, and then when they're done, they throw out the egg.
Correct.
That's
So, real quick, I did talk to the DJ last year, and he did say that he has the ability to do remote speakers, Bluetooth, I believe, through his unit, so you can have a set of speakers somewhere else. That might work. I don't know if he still has it or not, but just an option. They may cost more. I'm sure.
Well, let's decide where we can, so if we're gonna do 3 groups, we know that. So we said 2 and under, and then a 3 to 7, and then an 8 and up. Where are we thinking that would be done the best? We can decide where. Okay. Well, what I'm coming to my head right now, because the tennis court is there, and because I'm thinking of where you things, is where we had the riser, where the snow sled was. That's a big area, and then on the other side of that little ditch. So if we did the smaller area for the 2 and under, and then did 2 batches on that big, it's just flat ground, but they can line up on one side and the other side. You know, there's cement basically. It's 3 sides. There's sidewalk on 3 sides of that field, and if there's enough of us there to throw out the eggs, is that enough space, do you think?
That's what
I
you
don't-
suggested last.
I don't think there's enough space there. I think there's way too many people. I think they would exceed that. Like, I think you may have to have all that area around the tennis court and as much of that as possible. These events seem to draw more and more people.
But you don't think all the way to the creek, the bridge, back to the all west?
I mean,
Because it's
I don't
not
think
flat.
it. I just think I think you'd need a little more.
My next guest suggestion then would be the other side of the tennis court, and just move everything to the other side,
Yeah, I think
and just have them line up along the sidewalk that goes around the walking loop, and that's the perimeter. And
So what's the other side? Side or the
well, we
church
could draw
side?
a rope, or that's like right where the tennis court is, and then wherever we draw the rope, put the little babies on the back side, and then do the 2 throwing out on all the rest of the grass we need, whatever space we need. But yeah, we can look out. We can go out there. What? Okay, but we still need the 8.
3 to 7 or 3 to 6?
2 and under, 3 to 7, and 8 and up.
3 to 7. Okay, got it.
Or 8 to 12.
How do you guys partition the fields off last year?
Rope.
Just rope? So if you're
Like
like wooden
PVC
stakes
pipe
and then like the ribbon you get, kind of run them and string them along. Like
That's what he had, like a.
yeah, we have a pile of rebar cut that's like 3 feet, and then we have PVC, like 3/4 inch PVC that slides over with tees on top. We just run
Same
the
thing you
nylon
saw at
through it,
Christmas.
and they'll zip tie it through it, and it's just real quick, temporary. I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, people want to go under it. I think that's stop. Just
talk about.
So parking, are we gonna do?
it'll
that
have
or
to be
no?
on everything on the south side of the creek. That's really our only place for parking.
I mean, you're gonna rope it off.
We'll usually we block around anything that's we don't want people to hit, and we'll sometimes put kind of row markers, and if we think we're gonna have that quantity, we'll have people out there helping get people started parking. Once they start, it's pretty.
Mark it down. No. Wow.
How many people?
David Rogers, our head counter. There's no point in counting. Last year it was way more than.
And it grows every.
I do think the bigger they get, the less.
Church, how many would you?
I stopped counting at 12. No, there was a lot. There was literally, especially that last group. What I saw again, it was the little kids, the little middle-aged kids, and the big kids, all migrated together
They
with
just
all
kept
the
going.
parents, and it was out of control.
Well, not even 1,000, just 100.
It's probably 1,000. It could be.
I could have gone to 1,000.
Yeah.
Because the park, you look at the parking, how wild.
It was definitely more than
More,
hundreds.
yeah.
I'd be dealing with that.
So we're
Or
gonna
more.
have all the park.
Like almost every event now, we put up the no parking on Gamble and First and Second. So yeah, otherwise you can't get in and out of them. We'll put those out. We'll try to do a handicap area. We just don't have a lot.
I'm just trying to think back to Christmas in the park. I feel like there might have been more. That's true. Christmas in the park is spread out. There were a lot. There were a lot in Easter. Easter was good.
So let's get a motion to spend $3,000 for the egg. Then let's talk about sponsorship.
This Chuck, I'll make a motion to spend $3,000 for Easter egg.
Anyone second?
This is Kyle Clark. I'll second.
All in favor?
And the next thing I want to talk about is vendors. You know, normally at the Easter event, we do not allow vendors. We don't sell vendor spaces because the event only lasts 1 hour. But every, as it gets busier and it's growing, more and more people and favorite hot and all that, are we going to open to vendors? We want to have snow cone people there.
Last year we decided because Kona Ice has an ongoing permit that we would allow them to come because people
If
were
they
hot.
paid sponsor, they did.
Yes.
They're a sponsor, you want to set up, okay. And when we word it that way, she's like, okay, yeah, I'll be sponsored so they can show up. I still think a 1 hour is not worth setting up as a vendor unless maybe you are just driving in. But I'll get a lot of requests for it.
What are the
Sponsorship
requests?
dollar amount that they have to provide?
Well, we have a graduating sponsor offer, like for all the events, started at $100, $250, $500.
To be for them, like for the Kona to come out, what sponsorship level they purchase?
100.
They only did 100 when they were able to come out.
Now we get 500 from a lot of churches around here that sponsor the Easter egg hunt. Not that we didn't get sponsor money. That's not the point. The point is, we said you have to sponsor too. But that kind of works because then once you say vendor,
Maybe if you sponsor more than 500, you can come out. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm asking because we will get requests and snow
It
cones
just-
is the most popular and what's the one with the pop, like all those will pass.
So Kona and ice cream.
Yeah, but
Kids' favorite.
having that one food truck, like that's fun for a huge lot. I would.
Multiple
so it's either
vendors
you
would.
need to do more or none at all.
And you can't just say snow cone or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to be fair. And,
We just like food truck, have a Kona Ice truck.
Yeah.
Sugar Rush, like they've got a trailer, it's not a truck.
Has, like, popsicles on it, they've already.
You gotta figure with having them provide a
Oh, no,
sponsorship
they've been
dollar
there,
amount
not
with
for
it,
some.
even if they're here for an
You know, they're
hour,
called
they could generate a couple
Pop-
thousand in
Right.
revenue for their business.
Right.
Let alone the sponsorship is going to provide advertising for them in addition to the money that they're going to generate. And you could even 100, in my opinion, is low, considering what you would have a food vendor from my city per truck, and they're gonna make well beyond that with the amount of people that you said came last year.
What
Yeah,
with
but
the
it's a
weather.
1 hour.
What do the churches normally sponsor us at?
Rough time.
So I guess my thought process, and I be thinking a little too deep about this, is it's an Easter event. Typically, church sponsors an Easter event. They will advertise the church.
And we've said yes. I don't
But if you
remember-
want to be a vendor, it has to be a food truck. That's what I'm going to ask James. Because then if you don't fit in our driveway spot, we don't have to rope off the grass. We don't have people doing donuts on the grass. The guy that was doing donuts on the grass is the last of it. Oh, yeah, he had his U-Haul truck flipping circle. I'm like, dude, get off the grass. That
But
was
now,
fun.
if a church wants to pay us $500, I don't think we should say, no, you can't have a booth.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at. So if you're a sponsor at a $500 level or higher, how many do we normally have?
Like 3, 4, or 5. I didn't bring the paperwork from last year. I'm not that.
Would a food truck sponsor them for $500? I don't know.
No. I think so.
It's only an hour.
Oh yeah, usually a food truck they would, with the right vendor.
But for a
would.
1 hour event?
For 100. So do what
I
we
think
did.
it has to be sponsor level. Like you have to be a sponsor at 500 or above to have space on our area because it is a
Oh, no,
limited
nobody's
event.
gonna pay 500.
The churches will, if that's what they're paying.
But I don't see the truck or donut.
It's only an hour. They can go.
Now, is the Kona Ice that you guys deal with, is that just a franchise unit or is it the corporate structure?
The local
Use the franchise.
for all of Northwest.
Got plenty of money then if she's
She
had that
does.
entire.
And
Got
well,
multiple
so what
trucks.
happened was 3 years ago or 2 years ago, it was really hot.
And we didn't have anybody.
We didn't have anything or anybody, and people were like, "Oh, can we get some photos?" So the next year when we brought it up at the meeting, we thought, well, how can we not open it up for vendors because we don't want city staff coming and working for 1 hour and messing up their whole day for that. And so what our process was, Kona Ice already has a permit with the city, and as far as I know, they're still the only one that has an ongoing permit, right? Is there anyone else?
I can't promise that. I don't look at that on a regular basis, but I'm pretty
At the
sure.
time, Kona Ice had an ongoing
Yeah.
permit where they could set up at any time without having to get a permit from the city and from the
They
health
still have to get a
department.
special event permit from Tarrant County, and I
Okay.
think Sugar Rush probably had one.
Well, and a lot of the food trucks already have standing permits with Tarrant County in general. 'Cause
That
there's-
doesn't mean you don't have to get a special event permit.
Well, there's
Still-
two types of permits you can get. You can get a yearly annual permit, valid the entire year, regardless of where you go, and you're allowed, as long as the vicinity is allowing you to be there, that you won't need a permit. Our temporary permit as well, but again, that onus should be put on the food truck vendor,
Right,
because
yeah,
that's
not
their
for
whole
us.
business.
Mhm.
If they do events, they already know they have a permit.
Yeah,
So
That's
that
true,
shouldn't
but
be-
it does require the temporary event permit as well, but it's on them.
Right, that's fine, put it on them. If they fall through and they pay their sponsorship and they can't get their permit, that's on them.
Yeah, and
You
if
know,
the health department shows up,
Exactly. Yeah, that, I wouldn't put any stress on our decision-making process because of it. That's something that falls on the business owner themselves, and that should be on the business owner, and that should be something we would have to do directly.
so I'm hearing let's offer the sponsorship again with a higher level.
I think
If
that's a
you wanted
great
to
idea.
set up a space, yeah.
Oh, I always am like, listen, we don't do it. It's not a vendor event, because it only lasts an hour, and then, they're like, well, can we, okay. Yeah, I guess you can if you want to be sponsored. So let's do sponsorship level. We've done 100, 250, and 500. So y'all want to raise that to
What
Could I
does
make a sug-
$100 get? What is $100?
just saying, saying,
So I don't know, I'm just being mean, I
to
guess.
get a spot, well,
A
to
booth,
get the banner.
I'm saying would require $500.
What I promote is that you get to have the 3x6 banner that we pay for on site if you pay at least
What is $100?
your name on the flyer and you get recognition. And then in the past, go up and set up your own table or have a booth or bring your,
So let's just get rid of
so make it 200.
just do your 250 if you want 500.
So you're not gonna let anybody show up unless they pay 500.
Correct.
Then I don't think we'll have.
We don't really want vendors, right?
I don't. It's
Well, it again, we put it back on them. If I would suggest, do the $500 level, but cap it at 3 or 4 total vendors. And when you sell it to the vendors, say you're going to have this captive audience of 1,000 plus people, and just from operating in restaurants previously, a food truck company I work for owned as well. We will pay for the permit to come out. We will pay for the sponsorship to come out. We will pay for the hourly people to come out, because an event like this, you're not necessarily looking at the revenue you're going to generate as the business. You're getting more out of the advertisement and putting your product in 1,000 people's mouths that may not normally buy your product or know about your company, or Kona Ice is a bigger brand than that. But if you can limit a 3 to 4 cap to where you're going to have 3 to 4 max for this captive audience, because if you're selling a sponsorship to a business, $500, bring your truck out here, but there's going to be 10 trucks out here, you're drastically diluting the pool of what they're going to be able to pull revenue from. Whereas if we can say we're going to max it at 3 trucks, a snow cone, an ice cream, and maybe like a hot dog or hamburger or something, because it is going to be towards the dinner time and little ones and snacks and things like that.
I would
You're gonna
not
get more interest
cap
out
it
of it.
off at 1 snow cone. I would allow.
But that's gonna be
I
your
guess
selling point.
what my perspective was that we're not selling vendor spaces for
Right.
event that costs that 1 hour.
But I'm not worried about.
We're
capping it
selling a
off.
sponsorship,
Right.
and your perk for being a sponsor is getting a vendor space. So I'm not selling, like he's saying, I'm selling you a spot for your business to advertise. The church pays $500. Now guess what? I know what Compass Church is because I came to the Easter egg hunt and I saw their sign.
And that's what it said. It does say that in our advertising. That, the opportunity to advertise your business.
So I guess
Part of
my
your
point is, I don't think we're looking to make more work for anybody as far as setting up vendors for a 1 hour event.
Right.
But if you're sponsoring us at a $500 level or higher, your perk for that is getting a vendor space,
Right. I'm gonna put it out there.
right?
So we're only gonna have 2 levels: 250 and 500.
250 doesn't get you a space though. 250 is just your regular, hey, I'm a community
Banner.
member and I want my name on the flyer.
3x6 banner.
Great.
Okay.
250 gets you a 3x6 banner. 500 gets you, 500 and above.
And a banner.
Yeah, you get a banner and you can have a space.
Okay,
And
cool.
we're gonna cap that at 10.
I'm not worried about that. We've
I'm
never
just
had more
saying.
than 5.
Because if we don't have more than 10 spaces for them to park a food truck, right? So we're gonna cap it at 10, just in case.
No, I mean we've never had more than 5 total spots.
Well, we've always said no. But now if someone knows to be a vendor, they can be a sponsor, it might change their perspective,
Not at 500. Okay, we'll just roll with it.
right? So
I'm not
just
worried.
cap it at, do we have 10 spaces on the grounds? If they have 10 food trucks, we'll just say 10 and roll with it. Because if there's 10 people at 500, we've just made $5,000 and we
worried.
paid
It's
for
not
our
gonna
whole
happen.
event, so. It's not a money-making event. It's just that if you want to be a sponsor, that's it. Does anyone have a different idea on that? I think 500 if you want a space, 250 if you want a name on a flyer, and there you go. And you're exactly right, because there's a food truck that was at one of these events, and my kids have literally written down their name to look for this food truck. They're like, Mom, that place had this really good rice. So it works. Marketing. Mhm.
Do you guys send this to there were multiple vendors at the, Christmas in the park. Did all those vendors send this opportunity out to them as well? Oh, that's what I'm asking. Is that going to be the group that you can send it to?
We usually
Is all the
email it
previous-
There you go. So 250 is the bronze level, 500 is the bigger level. We'll give them 1,000 just in case somebody wants to be fancy. I don't know what extra you get for 1,000. James? Can they just stay there?
They
till they're
can't
done?
stay there all night. There would have to be some kind of limit. So y'all would have to decide when you want to shut that off. And 'cause- yeah, the downside is we typically have to block off access down there if we're gonna have food trucks. If we did it where there was just food trucks on only those south parking spaces, which only would make room for maybe 4 or 5, and we made sure everybody only form lines on that side, then you could probably keep that open. But that has to be.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we only have 2 months also for this year. So if people know they can do it next year, then that might be more popular. But we'll just go with that for now, I guess, and see what happens before.
Yeah, I
between
think
now
you would
and
just
next
have to
month.
pick a window of time, and they'd probably do a bunch of business before, and then a bunch of business after, and then they'd have to leave. But they couldn't use that as their ability to stay there till like 10 at night or something.
So we thought like 3 to 6?
Should we say 3 to 6, the event's 4 to 5, and no.
Well, the event is
The
4 to
food-
5.
The event, if you're a sponsor, you can be set up at 3, and you have to be out by 6.
I think if you're going to offer that, that makes sense to me. It doesn't.
Well, because we have
Yeah.
to block off the area. And if we say you have to be gone at 5 and everyone's kids are leaving at the same time, it's not going to work. And if everyone's kids are arriving and the food trucks are arriving, like we have to let them be there an hour before and they have to leave an hour after. Otherwise, so it's not a problem. Yeah, easy. Okay, we'll see what happens. We'll roll with it and we'll see how many sign up. Okay. So 500 and above gets you a space if you're a sponsor. And if all else fails and nobody signs up, the Parks Board can sell water for $0.25 and make $10. And go to Costco and buy a bunch of water bottles. I'll do it. I don't mind. Right? We'll have opportunity to drink if you forgot your water. Okay. So we have Easter eggs. We have a sponsorship opportunity for space. And we're going to look for an Easter bunny. Do we need to? We'll just work for that. Okay. Anything else on Easter anybody wants to know? So the event's 4 to 5 with a tentative 3 to 6 time frame if we have some sponsors that want to space. Okay. Memorial Day celebration is May 27th, 2024. And we have I believe it's still a backup speaker, unless it's a confirmation speaker. Anybody military that? Are we committing yet, or are we still backup? You did great.
Still
you did
back.
so great.
Well, I thank you. Still back up, as far as I know.
Okay.
And if Cindy can't get the one that she, I'm gonna talk to a guy I know who's a Vietnam vet, might do it. But if I have to do it again, I'll
Okay. That's usually just a real quick Memorial Day if you're in town. If you're out of town, it's not that big of a deal. I actually have to work Memorial Day, but I usually can make it just long enough to watch the ceremony and then we're off to work. We'll order some chairs. Probably too early for that, right? Okay. Okay. Perfect. All right, Fireworks Independence Day event is on the books now for June the 28th at 6 p.m. Are we going to try and get a band for that?
I think we need to rehire the one we had this year. They were really, really.
Do we need to have Mike ask them, or do we have their email or something? Ask them. Do we get an estimate for the next board meeting, what their estimate would be? If they can pencil us in.
Incognito, yeah, that's who it was. They were great.
So last year, just to bring you up to speed, we had 3 bids. One was for like $80 million, and they looked really cool. And then one was for like $2,000, and they just were a group. And then Incognito came in around 3 or 5, something like that. They did a great job, except for they parked in the wrong spot. But we'll just let them know where to park.
Where did they set up at?
You're not gonna let that go, are you?
They put a stage on the basketball court.
Who is in charge of that band, and Mike was out of town last year. I think if Mike is here on site,
It'll
know.
be fine.
yeah, we're not gonna have a problem.
So we're gonna get an Incognito estimate. No, it was another one.
Oh, wasn't it free?
No, LaFreak. No, it was a different one. It was that one. Remember the one, Katrina? It was like a 10-man band, and it was
Yes, out of
$20,000, and they have a stage. It was crazy.
But we've had La Freak and
We have had La Freak. They have
did.
very high demands, y'all. You have to like rent them a trailer for them to be able to change and have a bathroom.
I can tell you,
I'm sure.
We're too late in the year to get them.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. But Incognito is much more Haslet level, in my opinion. So, also, just quick summary. We used to have a Wild West Fest and a 4th of July event. Wild West Fest was sort of in the bad weather range. And when it happened and it was good, it was great. And when it didn't happen, we lost all of our money. And it was never money making anyway. And one year, Garrick said, hey, why don't we roll them into one? Because 4th of July is a big turnout. And we had the band at that other event. So that's why I brought it and move it into that event.
Are there vendors at the 4th of July event as well?
Yes. Yes. So our big vendor events are 4th of July, Christmas, and that's it. National Night Out is free night. So everything has to be free. So you can have a vendor there, but they don't pay you, right, Katrina? The vendors at National Night Out?
No, that's a free event.
Yes.
Based on our
But they also can't sell
membership
anything.
with the National Association of Town Watch, it has to be a project free to everybody. Free to everybody. We do get sponsored. That's how we pay. Whatever.
And then our other event is the movie in the park, and it usually sponsors out from that realty. Or it has the past year.
Is that the Martin Realty Group?
Mm-hmm. They did it a couple years back, and they have asked every year if they can sign up. And once they sign up, we close it. They're usually pretty quick to the gun on that one. Which brings us then to Movie in the Park for September of 2024. And I thought that I might have a letter here from something, but I need Katrina to help out.
We don't have free in and out. I asked them how much it would be to get us a quote for it, and they have not lied on that.
So are they no longer offering that as a service to the community, or are they no longer?
Okay, I'm going to read you their email.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, upper management has made some changes to the way that we consider and process cookout food truck donation requests. To our process for considering, grammar's not the best here. In 2024 and beyond, we've only been approved to consider requests for events that will be occurring in January, February, June, July, November, and December. And as it currently stands, we're at capacity for all 2024 cookout trailer donation, and we are not actively adding any more events to the truck's calendar at this time. If you would still like to submit a donation request letter for an event that will be taking place in one of these months, I can get a wait list started and contact you if we get any cancellation. Other than that, the trucks can be leased through the cookout department any time of the year without being limited to certain months. There's a cost associated with going to that, but it is an option for you. So I replied and said, can I make any requests for 2025, first of all? And what is the cost, please? And I haven't heard back. And that was January 5th.
So before we had In-N-Out, we would go and buy popcorn from the little pop place popcorn maker. But coincidentally, I've been looking at popcorn. Can we make our own popcorn?
Not without a help firm.
I've been looking at these on like these huge, anyways, this is a whole nother story. So we previously went and bought big bags from the it's in Keller, whatever the place is. Poppin' Shop. There we go, Poppin' Shop. And bought like 3 or 4 big bags. It's like $60, not even a lot of money. I mean, and brought it over, and we would just bag it, like pass it out to the movie watchers. And Martin Realty has been bringing, historically, they've sponsored us and brought candy for the participants. So I feel like it's not a dead show if there's no In-N-Out. We want to just pick a day then and roll with it?
Or do we want to, I don't know.
And
When you're
just do
saying In-N-Out,
popcorn?
you're talking about In-N-Out like the hamburger place?
So In-N-Out, so we have so in the beginning we had 3 movie nights, and then it got so hot we had to cancel several because of the heat index, and nobody else wanted to do movie in the night but me and Cindy, and so we said, okay, fine, you can't take them all away from us, let's just keep one a year. And Cindy and I basically have always guaranteed we would run it, so the park board kept it going. So September is our month. And the reason we chose that is because the weather's good, school's started, a lot of people are not in town at that time, and In-N-Out would come and set up their truck and give out free burgers. So we would pick the night based on which Friday night in September In-N-Out was available. But now In-N-Out is saying they do not do September, and if they will lease it, we can see if we want to lease it. I don't know that we need to lease it because, I don't know, I think popcorn and candy is fine.
Well, I think you need to
And-
hire somebody to pass
yeah.
out.
You can't do the popcorn either. Like you'd have to get that health permit. Like that was never really something that was allowed either. So.
Oh,
If it's
it was a long time ago.
prepackaged,
It wasn't
yeah.
me. Because
Because
In-N-Out
it was free.
was free.
Oh,
We didn't
Yeah.
pay for that.
I don't know anyone else offering free food. Do you?
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A does a lot, actually.
Mhm. Yes.
It does.
it's in the process of getting.
It would still have to be prepackaged food. So yeah, if it's prepackaged, that facility is not going to be suitable for anything beyond prepackaged food.
It's gotta get brought up to health stuff. Right?
Yeah, if
We could also, well, we could also get an actual food vendor that sells popcorn to come and set up, distribute popcorn, but it would be a cost to us. So that was all I'm. So I'm going to back it up for a quick second because HSE technically can't advertise at that event because of the way we've made our sponsorship. It's one sponsor only, and I'm pretty sure Martin Realty already has it. So like when In-N-Out comes, permit it.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, we could just buy bags of popcorn like the skinny pop that's already bagged if we wanted it. It's just going to be a little bit more. We can talk about that then. But is everyone okay not having In-N-Out and just picking a date? And then we can see what it costs to lease versus buy boxes and boxes of chips from Costco and I don't know. It's so late anyway. By the time the movie starts at 8 p.m. Correct. Yeah. So September 27th? We usually do a Friday night in September. It was the 22nd.
I do think that it would just be Martin Villager saying about Cindy. I will say that Cindy was on before the movie. So there's
Oh, and
people
we'll have to
that
buy
didn't
something
get
else.
something else. I think we'll have
Yeah.
to add. to it.
We will have
can't
to add
just
something.
leave
Especially because they're a sponsor. They're already paying to be there.
Correct.
That was just something extra that they brought, and it complemented the In-N-Out. So
Yeah.
I think we should for sure look at some ideas of either maybe renting our own. I know that one year, for example, Sugar Rush was able to give us a really deep discount and was going to pour hot chocolate for us at 50 cents a cup. It was like not what they would have sold it for, but we were going to buy X number of cups to basically use their food permit. And so we may be able to find some company that we say, hey, if we give you $300, will you come out and use your food permit to sell your popcorn kind of thing? Yeah, actually, Mahaley, she might do it too. So we just need someone with a food truck that has a permit that can, yeah. Okay. Yeah, anything. But we'll have to be the ones to purchase the item.
Yeah, just to be clear though, you cannot do any food prep in that concession stand. It's got to be factory sealed and handed out. Like there is a much bigger process to go to get that certified with the health department, and it just won't meet what they require. So, yeah, I think prepackaged is really easy on any no matter who does it, it's just,
Well,
if
we
it's
could
gonna
even
be
buy it
food
and give it
prep,
to Martin Realty and let them pass it out for
Yeah.
us. I'm looking at the 20th and the 27th.
I just talked to Shannon, and she said that she's doing the candy, but she'd already thought about reaching out to a vendor on her own accord and have them sponsor popcorn.
Ah.
So she already has that in the works of trying to get popcorn as well.
Did that.
Shannon Martin, she's a longtime
Martin.
family friend of mine. I've known her forever.
You can let her know that In-N-Out bailed on us.
Oh, don't worry, I'll work her.
Okay.
I have no problem doing that.
But I mean, just
I've
tell
known
her.
her for a very long time.
I mean, but just tell her, normally In-N-Out's there. Let her know that they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. since you got- okay. Any preference to the 20th or the 27th? I'm going to say 27, but you guys can say whatever you'd like. I don't know if there's holidays. I couldn't find the calendar. I was looking for the school year calendars for all this. I guess we're only Northwest. So I'll motion for movie in the park to be September the 27th.
This Chuck, I'll second.
All in favor? Unopposed?
What day was it?
Since we're motioning for that,
What's the date? September what?
September 27th.
27.
Okay. So we'll wait to see about the In-N-Out lease and wait to see what we can get vendor space-wise or whatever. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. National Night Out, always the first Tuesday of the month of October in Texas. I don't know if y'all knew this, that's not the case in other states, but in Texas it is. I guess it's too hot. Anyways, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You don't really have to come, but we'd love it if you come and take a little turn at the table, talk to people. And I love you. But I will go ahead and say Katrina does all of that basically on her own, and she does a really great job. So. Yes. And then Christmas in the Park is always the first Saturday in December, so that falls on December the 7th this year at 3 o'clock. And we just need to make sure that we don't need to, we're going to look at getting a different Santa. That's what we thought. But if you have a different Santa idea,
No, I don't think we.
yeah, because he's so expensive. Didn't somebody say somebody would do it? I thought it was one of y'all.
When they were inside.
Yeah, we might just only have one tent. But 4th of July needs two. Because if we want Santa Heath, it's time to get him. That's what I was getting at. So Santa Heath is expensive. Well, we go through that company and it backs up to make sure that if he's sick or something, somebody else comes. And he like $600. Oh, Santa Heath. And I know he's not getting all that money. You do. Do we want to shop for Santa or do we want to go with Santa Heath? You're not shopping? Well, you can contribute. We're not, you don't have to vote. You're allowed to say whatever you want.
Oh,
If you say we
I
want to
think he
shop,
was really good.
I mean, if you say let's shop, we'll shop.
How much was he?
$750.
He was pretty legit. I
He
mean,
is
he
legit.
had the L. I mean,
Yeah.
y'all were the L's.
Well, we
but
were
I
the
mean,
elves, and then actually Mrs.
He had
Claus.
Mrs. Claus and everything else.
Mrs.
I mean,
Claus
He did
is
so- I
a
do like
volunteer.
how he came in.
Oh, really?
Mrs. Claus is a volunteer. Mrs. Claus actually brought those candy canes, so we need to make sure we stick that on for next year to make sure we have those. It was a great addition. Mrs. Bougie Claus, as I like to call her. Is she Kurt's wife? No. Randall Garner's wife. She's great. And she always comes for cool. So she doesn't charge. we just pay for. So Santa Heath, everyone's okay with Santa Heath? All right, let's try to get Santa Heath if we can. Motion to get Santa Heath for $750 by Sarah. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Okay. Do we need anything else?
What I'd like to do, since it's kind of fresh on our minds, that we just did it,
Lessons learned.
can we do a lessons learned on the event? You know, anything that you saw that we could do better, what worked, what didn't work, and that way we can make notes. And then when it gets closer and we start, you know, really planning it, we'll have those notes.
More than one slide.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
Ice slide or regular slide?
What I was thinking is the big slide, you know, the line was so long that what if we had the big slide and the little slide that y'all had with the hay bales? It was a little bit cheaper, but it was a slide. You
And
know?
I went to a Keller party one time, and they had one just like it, but it was a double. So basically 2 people went up and 2 people went down. So let's look into that, and that would maybe
Double
cut the
slide.
line.
Also, do we get a refund on the time it took them to get started? Because they were 30 minutes late and they were slow. So
Yeah.
we paid to man it and they weren't really that helpful.
So with that, they always have the same issue as how long does it take to chip that much ice, and then it's very weather dependent, and then they were expecting it to be a little closer to the pavement. I mean, they've done it the same way every year. I think most of this crew is kind of new, but I do think, I mean, they work efficiently. It took longer than typical to chip all that up. I don't think we really ever need the little play area. I think that is just a waste of money.
That was a hot mess.
That was.
So
Kids
that
were crying.
that would be my suggestion, is
There
we
was
gotta cancel that portion, and most of the
another
time it gets
slide.
canceled because the heat anyway, and they have to
I
use
agree.
the ice on there. But I think that's the double-edged sword. If they start earlier, then it may melt quicker. If they start later, it may take them a little bit longer than they expect. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of doing away with the play area and put that money into another slide.
So 2 ice slides, consider no play area. For
and they
next year.
brought some hay bales, and I don't think we even had to have ours if we didn't have the other area. So that'd be a cost savings there. Like, yeah, they brought them, and they had them in wrapped in poly like bags, so they didn't just get saturated. And we don't have so I think that's all they typically provide and need.
We had
and-
2 ice slides one year.
We
It was
did.
good. Remember that year? But we manned it ourselves. It was horrible. So if anybody has a
Yeah.
volunteer between now and then that we can get a volunteer group
Mhm.
to volunteer to man those slides, it'll save us money, but it's not fun.
Did anybody see anything else that y'all made note of?
Yes, I was just about to say that. That needs to be.
Yeah, we can do away.
Yeah.
That's number
It
2
was
on the
about-
list.
They were just jumping on that thing. It wasn't for photos. It
And
wasn't
Elaine
working out.
And even when we,
me out.
even when we went and tried to talk to them about it, they're super floppy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no
Do
inflatable
away.
sled.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought the same thing.
Everything we had.
I mean, that
That
is
too.
that is the truth of that. I don't think that was good money spent because nobody used it as a photo opportunity.
Right.
But
It was
on,
just-
on something like that, you have to have somebody blocking off with ropes around it, letting one family in, sit, take a picture, leave, and somebody has to man that, or it's just going to be that.
So I went to Grapevine. Well, I always go to Grapevine, but this year in Grapevine, they had a wooden sled that was just sitting by their ice rink with the tree. And that's exactly what people did. They got in, they took a picture, they got out, they let the next family get in. So if we wanted to do something like that, just not make it bounce.
Agreed.
Because I didn't see our photo frame out this year either.
No, that is, it was warped, and it was made with wasn't made with treated lumber, so it just didn't really survive. It
Okay.
was
Became firewood.
yeah, no, straight
was
to a
cute while it
dumpster.
lasted.
It was a neat idea. It
Mhm.
just couldn't hold up. I mean, it sits out in the rain during the winter months, and it dries out and warps over the years. So that wasn't something that could be maintained long term.
What's next?
Hey, anything else? Y'all see anything else?
One thing positive was the parking area for the vendors.
Yeah.
They were thrilled about that compared to that nightmare we had at Friday.
So keep vendor parking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll try to always request that. We have no control over that. We have a pretty good relationship with AT&T and Joel Bullard. He works for them, so typically they give us permission. The deal with that is we have to fix anything damaged. So typically there's nothing there besides if it's wet, to be ruts, but we would always be responsible to restore it back to what it is. So if there's trash, we obviously pick that up. If there's ruts, we fix it. But if they ever did any kind of major damage, that could be something we'd be liable. But that did seem to be helpful. People did seem to like it. So
The only issue we had was the pickleball group that came in wanting to park closer, but that was really not that big a deal. Here's just a couple of notes I made. Purchase garland, roping off the line for the Santa pictures. You know, yeah,
Just more.
yeah, because it was kind of. And then garland around the pavilion. I went to Walmart and bought some of that red, cheap garland and did the poles, but we could really decorate that up better and make it look prettier. Put decorations on the fencing there in the park. That's kind of an area we could hang decorations from.
Where the kids playground is.
No, just along that fence where we put the lights on top of the fence.
Right.
Just use the fence.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is
Because like
Christmas
we
in
have
the
the
park.
Santa and the sleigh, or the Santa and the reindeer on Tanya's fence.
Yeah.
You
Put
just mean on
something-
there at the front, like the 156.
And it could be, silhouettes, maybe,
Sure.
candy canes or whatever. We can look at that later.
Okay.
But just add more decorations to the park. We need to get another controller so that we can play the snowman. We didn't have enough controllers, so he was mute this year. So we could add that.
okay, we just have to.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
sure. But she's just going over things, so that's, yeah, some more decoration. Dedicated controller.
And need a barrier around the singing Christmas trees. Some kind of roped off barrier or something to keep the kids from hanging on them and tripping over all those cords that are behind it.
So I
You
have
know.
a question about that.
Uh-huh.
Would it be able to put those along the fence where the park is and just put them a little bit closer and then make a rectangle rope around it?
So
that
they
that's
can't go
more
behind it?
sectioned off? Because unless they're climbing the fence, which they could do, and we know that people do what they want, at least the fence could be the back border, and then we could just put a border up.
But I do want to thank James. I thought the computer was awesome. It worked really well every time I went out. It was playing, and people are out, walking through the park and watching the Christmas trees and all that stuff. And so your computer idea was great. And I want to take time to thank Katrina, too, for all the hard work that you do with this event. It takes a lot of people. To pull it off, and you guys that helped out too. It was something I really enjoy every year, but especially the computer and the singing trees, James. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That
And Katrina.
should make a big difference for next year on setup as well. It did work really well, and just amazing newer pieces just work better. So the nice thing is it will be anybody can set that up in the next year. It's already pre-wired. I was intended to bring it tonight just to show you all who didn't get to see it, but we got out of another meeting late, so that didn't happen. But no, we appreciate y'all funding that, and we did come under budget on that. and there is some leftover money in there. What we didn't purchase was speakers. So I'd like to use the remaining of that for speakers if we could find them to replace the existing ones. The biggest issue I've found is almost all the new outdoor speakers have Bluetooth, and there's no real security to them. So every smart kid with a cell phone could connect to it.
Oh, no.
So I did not purchase
that's
those.
funny.
Yeah, we just figured, we looked really hard, and they have that same, there's no way to change it. The pin is all zeros. Everybody knows how to connect to those things. And we figured that was probably going to cause more harm than good. So I would like to spend that remaining on those if we can find something to replace those, because the existing speakers are pretty much gone. Oh, we also, in the wind, we had some damage to that tree. We're going to be repairing that too. That's just the poles and stuff. And we're looking at getting rid of the actual hay ring we've used, so we'll lose a little height. We're trying to find something where we have a ring on the ground, and it's a little easier to, less top heavy, and to be faster to set up, a little safer. That's
Okay.
just something we're looking into, but there is a little bit of repair.
And the setup was awesome. Everybody came out and helped with setup. That's the fastest we ever had that part set up. It was great.
Record time.
Appreciate that. Well, good.
Dana's been doing it a lot of years. So do we have to motion for you to use the leftover money, since we've already motioned for you
think so.
to use up to that amount for the
I
things we
think
need
y'all
and we
approved up
need
to
it?
that, so as long as y'all are okay with us
I mean,
spending
I feel
that
like
on
that's
just
part of what we
minor
needed,
pieces,
so.
we
What
just
was
won't
that
need to
thing?
exceed it.
Sorry, what was that thing, Dana, you were saying? Do we need something else also?
Well,
Can you-
it's a controller, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you want to add the ability to control something else, the one you're talking about has just 110 plugins, and so you have to have another box. I believe they're like $600. I'll have to double check on the pricing, and then that'll allow it to rotate through all those different facial expressions. I will say those do take a lot of amperage to run. So at a certain point, we'll have to look to see like how much you can pull off of each, because I mean, there's usually 20 amps per plug, and we're eating up some of that, so we have to be aware of that. But
Even with the LED lights, it still pulls a lot.
it's just it's that type of controller. If they were the low voltage ones, it wouldn't be as much. But those typically take two 15 amp circuits, so sometimes it takes everything that's in a certain area. We have to run a longer extension cord across the park to get to those. But I think one more won't hurt. Just we probably have to think hard on moving forward with more of that kind.
All right. Now, if y'all can think of more decorations, if y'all saw something out when y'all were looking at Christmas lights or whatever that might look good in the park, make note of it and bring it, to the next meeting. We start thinking about what else we want to put out there.
On one other note with Christmas, we as our guys took it down, they did take an inventory and a map of where all the pole decorations were. They got some pictures of the ones that do need to have some sort of repair. And we did buy some tote boxes to put all this stuff in and label it. And since that wasn't really an approved thing, we'll probably just fund it out of our budget unless y'all want to just cover the cost for that. But the intention is to label everything, inventory where it is, and they've taken anything that has damage or needs repairs, and they're separating that to repair over the next year. So at the very minimum, we should have a very good inventory of what's there, and it should be nice and organized between the two storage buildings we're renting or the park board building. We're hoping that's going to be helpful for everybody.
Katrina, were you able to ever find that invoice? So I had asked Katrina to send me So I had a question for you, James. When Katrina just kind of emailed me what we had got in that 2022, where we kind of had that lump sum where pandemic didn't let us use any money. And this is just a silly thing, but it said there are 6 red and 6 white arches, but there were only 5 red and 5 white arches out there in the park. What happened to the other one?
Yeah, I didn't count the arches, though. They should have all been out there. That
I was out there. I was literally out there counting decorations last week.
I can't tell you. I could.
It says 6 new red arches and 6 new white arches. And when I went out there were 5 and there were 5, and then there were the candy cane.
Yeah, I don't know. They came in sets of 3s, I thought, and they're linked together, and they have like a end cap on So I would have to go back and look at pictures.
So this invoice says 5 though. So maybe it was just a transfer issue. This one you sent me that I have now is the first time I'm seeing this. This says 5. But when you sent me the email, it said 6. So it might have just been a typo now that I'm seeing this one.
Yeah, I just know, yeah, whatever was.
There were 5. There were 5 red and 5 white.
Okay.
I just had, it was just I got an unofficial version of this before I.
Yeah, and do they count the one on the end, like that have like the very end has candy canes and Okay.
Well, the candy canes were attached to the arch in the park, so yeah.
Okay. I would think 6 pieces if you counted that. Maybe that was the.
Maybe. So when I was looking at the part, so basically all we have is what we bought in 2022, plus the abominable snowman. Email.
Well, you had as far as the rebar ones with the rope light, those were all out there. That was the Grinch scene. It was the Cindy Lou Who.
Oh yeah, Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch
and the dog.
Abominable snowman and the dog. So those are the only 3 things that we have left over besides
There was also
the reindeer.
Hermie, the one with the toothbrush. He's a part of that. We had the Texas
I didn't
one.
see him out there. Was
He was
Hermie
out
out there
there?
this year? Oh, okay.
Yep.
I missed him.
You had the Texas one that I can't remember what that says, but I think so. And then the majority of the non-rebar ones that don't use rope light, the majority of those are bad. Now they are all sitting in storage, so they're still available to look at or recover if you want. It's just you can't have them recovered by the original company. You'd have to find another person that would cover that.
Recovered all those beers.
Yeah, well, these are all animated, so they would have to, if they, I mean, they could look at that, but if they would wire them the same way they were done from the factory, or just pick a color, or you could do something with them. So what it is they have a wire frame, and you would think that that would have some kind of value. The company that sells them says that is the least expensive part of the entire thing. That company makes custom-made stringers. So the strings have, some of them have like 10 lights that are one color and then a resistor to keep it from burning out just 10 lights, because otherwise you have to have, 50 lights or something in order for them to pick one size resistor and then keep them all the same brightness without being too much to burn out the bulb. So what inevitably happens is they're perfectly cut to length, they have the exact amount of bulbs and then resistors to match, and really in 3 to 5 years, and usually sooner, resistors go out or shorts happen and they burn out. And that company used to offer to give you like a 10 or 20% discount on a new one, but they don't want the frames back. They won't sell you the lights. They said just throw it all away and buy a new one for a discount. Now they don't even offer a discount. They just said there just isn't any value. They said it's pennies for the wire, the actual shape. It's all the money in the lights, and there is no way to splice back in. Or I mean, you probably could dedicate a lot of time to do it, but usually at the point that the resistor failed, they burn out all the lights and they're permanent. So they're not like, they're permanently, injected and molded into there. You can't replace a single bulb. Yes. No. Yeah, no, usually the resistor failed and all the bulbs after have gone. So, actually, we were kind of surprised that is the way, but really that's the thought is if you're going to continue with those every 3 to 5 years, you're going to have to replace them. So it's going to have to be a pretty steady. I mean, and some of that is with kids climbing on them, and really the warranties are almost non-existent because the warranty says you have to promise they've only been out for so many days, because it's you can't leave them out for a full month even, and there's a bunch of loopholes not to ever really pay out on that warranty. And with kids climbing on them, that's where the cutting happens.
Yeah.
They're, I mean, as long as everybody else is okay, they're y'all's decorations. But
Items. There's a train, and there is a fire truck. That you just keep replacing the parts of the rope light, like I still have those? The train and the
Yeah, we have every wired frame decoration we've ever had. We still own those. So all of those should be at our public works building in a building stacked up. For those are all the ones that currently have problems.
rebar. Don't have it.
Yeah, the biggest issue with the rope light is it's bent well beyond where they intended it to. So rope light, yeah,
Where we bought.
yeah.
You've been-
They'll bend them in half and zip tied. I think a 6-inch arc is what they expect at the maximum. And so that was one of the biggest issues. And all those splices, when it gets really cold and when it gets really hot, it just creates shorts because there are so many of them. So that's been always the biggest problem.
Make a better spot. The two ends, you're really going rope.
Okay.
All right. Anything else anyone wants to remember for lessons learned from Christmas in the Park?
How was, dealing with Texas?
Oh, they were great. Like so they
that's
donated
right.
all those lights, and that was a good amount. I think the 6 lights we had was what we needed. So I felt like the light was really good, and we rented a lift from them, and they had had equipment available to us, so we had no issue there. And we got
What's a lift?
It's
Or
it's
what
an
did we rent
aerial.
it for?
We rented it for the Christmas tree. We also did some school zone maintenance to
Oh.
it, but
Not like the Parks Board event. You guys needed it for something.
no, we rented it to set the Christmas tree, and then we used it and charged it out of street funds in order to do the school zone lights.
So now I'm going to ask a question. If we rented a lift to do the tree, why didn't we just use the lift to wrap the tree ourselves and save $5,000?
You can always do that. We don't have the time for that, but
Oh, I see.
yeah.
I thought the reason we didn't wrap the trees because we didn't have the lift.
We use lift quite often, so
Well, it was only $1,000 this year, right? Not the $5,000 that we paid for. 17. Okay.
Is everybody happy with the tree?
It got unplugged at least once when I was out there. I thought it was not working, and then I realized I needed to plug it back in, so I just plugged it in.
yeah. And that's the one component you can never fix is that
Somebody tripped
any
on the
kids
cord.
can pull the wires out. I mean, they just unplug things sometimes. Sometimes they move stuff around or trip on things. I mean, we can't take that component out.
Did we ever find out who was trying to sell artwork in front of the light
No,
sign?
no, we confiscated it and no,
Well,
no, it's
sure.
been disposed. Yeah. There's no other follow up there.
Somebody had put out some, I don't know if y'all noticed, but somebody had painted some nice paintings and set them out in front of the light wall and then put a phone number that said, if you'd like to buy a painting, just Zelle me the money at this address.
Yeah. Stayed out there for quite a while.
Yeah, they were there for a while. Yeah. So I messaged James, I think, and I was like, whose stuff is that? So he sent code enforcement. Sure. All right. Well, I thought the event was great. So, all right. So yoga and Tai Chi are sort of self-sufficient. We don't need to do anything for that, correct? Does anyone have any other project or ideas that they would like to bring up or address? Yes.
So at Christmas in the Park, I've talked to
Yeah.
people. One of the complaints that I have was ignorance. It's dark.
Mm.
No.
No, I think he's just saying in general, we might need to put a light at the park. The new one, the kids.
Okay. The
So
only
is it like that by design so that it's not used after the park?
well, so there is no. Are you talking about just for that event specifically, or all the time?
No, all the, like right
Okay.
now,
Yeah. Yeah, during the event, we usually want the least amount of light just because we have all the Christmas displays, so it would kind of take away from that. Has been talk about upgrading, lighting in general in the parks through there.
And electricity.
And electricity, they've had a few plans, a few studies for like pathway lighting and things like that. Nothing specifically to light up that playground, but it's something we could look at in the future. So the solar panel lights, I don't think we want to continue with. The company that we got those from, they're no longer in existence. Or if they are, they never answer phones or turn them. So, and the issue with them is there's no way to maintenance those. So we've tried even the Chinese supplier, they won't even provide replacements. So all the existing lights that are there as they go out, there is no direct replacement from the original manufacturer. So I think in the future we should go with non-solar, no batteries, and an actual hardwired solution through that whole park.
So we recently purchased a solar light like that, like the ones that are in the park, and put it on a post at my driveway because I don't have power at my driveway gate. I only have a battery that opens the gate, and I didn't want to figure out how to jump off the battery. And it's just a solar light. And I don't know that we're going to replace it, but it cost me like $100. And it's a bright light. It's very bright, and it lasts basically all night. It's only been up since October, but my theory is versus buying all new light posts, why not just buy something or put in our own post where we can just switch out the light?
So the closest equivalent product to what's there that we can find, which has the same caveat as you don't know how long the supplier will be in business, they're $1,000 a pole. And that's just the light, just $1,000 per light, and you don't have any of the real control over it. I think to me, the long term, it's a lot of upfront costs, but it is way easier over a long amount of time to maintenance and service replaceable light fixtures. And the LED, we have no control over when it turns on and off. And that would be my suggestion, is to go away from solar.
Can we take the ones that are on the current poles off? Or can we just mount a new, literally they're $100 on Amazon and they're very bright. And they come on when it goes off, like when there's a remote, if you want a remote, it's not that fancy. Y'all could just keep the remote. I just set mine on the setting that I wanted it to, and I don't mess with it. It gets dark, it comes on, it gets light, it goes off, and we just literally screwed it onto a pole. And you could just add a new light fixture for, they're probably $200, but I'm cheap and I find them on sale. But I didn't pay more than $120 for mine, and if we could buy 15 or 10 for $1,000, that's the same as one light post that you're saying. It seems like we could just add a new light. I know it might look tacky to have two light fixtures now, you could just saw it off and put it on instead.
Yeah, you can send the one you're talking about. We can look into see if that's a usable option. Okay. Not actively. Yeah, it's been a long time back. They did a study of what that would cost.
It's not a part of y'all's budget, so no.
Yeah. So it's not a currently funded project. That answers the question. Yeah, so any request for that would need to go directly to our mayor. So there is no plans for lighting those fields back there at all. The reasons that I'm aware of are the neighboring houses have never wanted that, and that was a concern when they even put the baseball field. And so I think that's where the driving force is that is not something that was ever discussed that would happen back there. So.
I'm going to insert my own opinion. I would go to EDC. You can go to the mayor if you want to, but EDC is the developmental committee that's appointed, and we're the only board that I'm aware of besides the library board that doesn't have voting power, but EDC does, A and B, and they have money that we, as residents of Haslet, give them, and they spend it. They're the ones that paid for all the light poles in the park, I believe, when that happened. They're the ones that funded the rest of off of the
not on the right item. Like we're off the
other projects and ideas for lighting in the park.
Or wouldn't this fall under number?
No, he was saying he had an idea to put lights in the park, so we're just talking about the light. So you could go to EDC. Is my point. So Yeah.
I would
it's
just
all
go
good,
straight
yeah.
to the mayor. He's at every,
He is at every EDC.
Yeah, I mean,
We
that
don't have
was-
money as a parks board, so.
Right. Yeah. And that is any of those kind of things. He has directed those questions to go to him direct.
Just for my knowledge, what's the procedure for the park board to reach out to the council or the mayor to request funds for projects?
There's a procedure. We just make a motion to present to the city council, and then usually staff will present our request.
Is this something that we can go as to the actual council meetings themselves and present?
As a
ourselves?
resident, yeah. Yeah, if we discuss it in the park board, like anything that's discussed in a meeting has to be on the agenda. So basically we can say, oh yeah, we have an idea for playground lights or lights in the thing. And then we can say that's a next agenda item meeting. So we can't motion on it today at all.
No, I'm just
But
asking
yeah, in the
for
future you could
reference.
motion to say,
I didn't know if it was like annually, biannually, you went to the city council.
no,
to
it's whenever we
request
make
funds
it. If it's
for-
an agenda item and we make the motion, then usually James is the one I think that takes it, or historically. Right.
Right, yeah. Future request.
Like, for example, when we voted on the playground, it was an agenda item. We talked about it. We looked at it. We took polls of our neighbors and our kids and said, oh, this is the playground that we like. And then like 3. So then we motioned as a park board, because we're not that's just the kind of, we have to suggest our opinion. So we motioned for them to take our suggestion of the playground that we wanted to city council. Then city council approved it, and it
Just curious.
So
'cause
same thing with lights. If we said, hey, we want to start a light project, we can ask to put that on the agenda as a future idea, and then we could motion to ask them. Sure. Increase lights on the parks and playgrounds for a future agenda. Any other ideas or projects? They had another one? Just the light. Okay. We did. Well, we've been talking about putting lights under the bridge and all that stuff and getting power out there and. Mhm. Whatever happened to that project, that 600,000 or whatever it was it 100,000 that was on our,
So there's still money in there for a project for, like, it was supposed to be for increased plugs and service for that park. And I believe that's still in there as an active project.
for the firehouse field or for the
No, for community park.
community park? Okay, that's what I thought. All right, we can add that to look at firehouse. All right, no other ideas. We'll go on to an action item that we should have done years ago. I don't know why I never thought of it. Whenever we get new Parks Board members, we like y'all to have, or we like all of us to have the little polo shirt. What are they called?
Yeah.
The shirt.
Oh, I brought
The little shirt thing, and then we have a jacket in the winter we wear, and we would like to make it so that it's just standard when there's a new park board member, they get a shirt, versus us having to bring it back and vote on it and all that stuff. But we haven't had a new one in a while. I don't know if we want to just vote to get everyone one, and then as they come in new, add it, but whatever y'all think. Currently, we all. Yes, and we used to also make sure you were going to come to an event, but y'all have already sort of shown that you're coming, so you pass. Yes, yes. So I have a white one, and I don't honestly just love it because it's a little thin. So here's a blue and a red. Dana's been around a while, and she's had her own made, and blue. I mean, I look good in red, but I look good in blue too, I guess. Do we want to do blue this time? Can we do blue shirts, Katrina? And so the question here on the action item is that we need to purchase shirts, jackets for park board members that are new, because I don't know that any of y'all have any. But if we're gonna do blue, then let's just do one for everybody that's here. So.
Good.
And I like this style because it's cool and it's a Columbia. These are both Columbia. I think this. Oh, do they look different? Are you able to pull it up? Can we see it?
Yeah.
Like a bed sheet?
Yeah. I like the Columbia.
What's the one that we have that's white? Isn't it Columbia?
That is Columbia.
The white one is Columbia, right? I mean, the white one, I only have a white one and it's quality. So how many Parks Board members are there? Who's the ninth? No, 3, 6, 7, Cindy. Oh, Stephanie. I was like, who's the other person? Stephanie. Okay. So. Okay. So do we want to go ahead and motion while it's on action item to purchase some shirts? One for each member, that at least do one of or the other. Maybe we should get the jackets instead of the shirt. What's coming up? What weather's coming up?
Easter, it's hot.
We probably need the shirts before the jackets.
Yeah. Sizes.
So can we carry that action item over to the next meeting? And then while y'all are here today, just in case you're not here next week, see if, are these men's or women?
Women's.
Well, sorry guys. If you don't know your size, between now and the next meeting, please figure out your size. Okay. And then consider what you guys think about keeping that as an ongoing action item to just purchase one, and we'll just motion it all together versus seeing who's really going to show up. 'Cause that's what we've done. Oh, you can buy whatever you want. Dana bought these herself and went and had them monogrammed. Yeah. Yeah, who has the logo? Oh, we'll get it from Katrina. Like the rights to have it put on a shirt. Just this one that says Parks Board.
There's a place on Broad Street.
Probably just need a vector file, and that way they can arrange it how they need to. You bring it to them in a vector file?
So if we wanted to embroider our own, should we come to you and get the file, or should we bring you the shirt and then pay for it, or have the company get the file? Okay. All right. So if you'd like to do that, just have the company get the file from us. So we're gonna forward that one to the next meeting. We're gonna have our shirt sizes and roll it all into one, and then discuss, consider, and act regarding purchases for the replacement of the faded Christmas decorations. Well, it's not really the vote, but yes, we're gonna pick blue whenever we motion. The consensus is blue. So what is, James, could you help me out here with 6B?
Trina, is this the one you added here for faded decorations? Is that where y'all want to replace the garland on those pole decorations? I didn't put. Then that. I don't know. I didn't put those
So
on
I
there,
think we wanted to get an inventory was the purpose of the request from the last meeting. And so we have the list here of the light up decorations. and I don't know where it went. I must have taken it out right before I came because I was looking at it.
I mean,
I had a list of the pole lights. I know we had 7 trees and 6 ornaments and 4 bells and 3 snowmen, 4 soldiers. We bought 4 more wreaths and 5 Christmas trees. Do we have an updated pole list?
of the pole decorations, yes. And so, but as far, like, this is talking about faded Christmas decorations, so I'm not sure what the request was, but we have 6 of the oldest kind of candy canes. We have 6 of the smaller ones that go down here. They have 6 candles, 6 ornaments, 6 trees, 5 snowmen, 5 bells, 4 soldiers. And then as far as ones that are definitely in need of some repair, one of the snowmans is bent. You have a tree that's bent.
I'm so sorry. Can you tell me can you just say the numbers one more time? How many candy canes are there?
Well, there's 2 different types. So
Okay.
there's 6 and 6.
6 and 6, because I had 4 and 10 on my last count. And then I had 7 trees, so we have 6.
You have 6 trees. So 6 trees,
Okay, 6 trees, 6 ornaments.
6 ornaments, 6 candles, 5 snowmen, 5
5
bells,
snowmen.
and 4 soldiers.
And what about the ornaments? Are they gone? We had 6 ornaments.
You have 6 ornaments.
And then 4 wreaths.
So I don't have the wreaths on here because we didn't put them up this year.
Okay.
They look terrible because all the little ornaments on them are broken and
Right.
busted, but they're too wide. They're a very odd design, but I've never seen wreaths this wide. I mean, they look like giant drag wreaths.
Well, and a
Yeah.
couple years ago, we had said let's just periodically buy 2 more of each year to replace the ones that faded because it's easier than restringing them and all of that stuff. So about how many would you say we needed to fill the poles based on the ones that we had?
Well, I would say if you don't want to repair, you need at least 4 replacements because you had 4 that look bad. And then as far as for whether they're faded or not, all the snowmen are very faded. So that's 5 of those. The soldiers look fine. The bells look fine. The candy canes, the smaller ones, those look pretty yellowed and faded. This is just all the pole decorations that they have.
So just for a quick reference, then, I don't know if you guys want to push this to the next meeting or make a decision today while we have it, but I have an old estimate from probably 2 years ago. This kind of little guy snowman here is $307 for one. I'm sure he's more. That is 2 years old. That is a 5-foot garland snowman pole. And then there's a candle, 5 foot. Yeah, they're the ones that stick out on those poles.
Yes, like I said, it's different than the kind of it's like a PVC style garland. It's thick, it's durable, but white becomes yellow over so many years. Yeah, we've gotten good lifespan out of them. Well, somebody talked about it.
So do we want to push this forward and just try to maybe find them and see if they're spray paintable? Do we need money to spray paint, or is that something that we can just try? Okay. And who was in that? Okay.
Is that when we do Westport, I don't know, I looked at it really, really detailed this year for the first time. I think that we need to it'd look a little bit more professional, in my opinion, if we had matching on each pole together, where you have 2, have those matching, and then maybe have a repeat design as you go down Westport. So maybe we have 2 candy canes, 2 snowmen, 2 Christmas trees, and then start over and do that again. It just looked crazy to me how it was random and 2-sided, and I tried to put a lot of thought into it. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to really look at it and slow down, but if we're going to go forward and buy more stuff, I think we need to put a little bit more thought into that.
I think you're right. It's symmetrical and look better.
We got different size stuff out there because what we used to have was too large, so we kind of went smaller scale. Just my 2 cents.
I will say they do typically put those the same on each. I mean, there's 2 different types of pole lights. So some, there's a center mast that have 2 heads, and you can put 2 on each side of those, and other ones are single, and you can only put 1 on those. But they were short, some of those, because we had damaged ones and stolen ones. But when they got to the end, they did pick 2 different ones. So they could, I mean, yeah. The option were either to just leave those poles with nothing and continuing on after, which we could have done that. But also, the medians along Westport get really narrow, and you're very limited on what you can put in certain. So some of those, the placement, you can't pick a consistent size and type, because the further down it gets, you just can't put those there. 18-wheelers will hit the edges of them. So there's some very limited options on some of those poles.
I'm just going to throw this out here, just because I've thought about this a lot too, is what if we didn't do Westport Parkway and we did Haslet? You know, the town of Haslet, make it look better.
So I was
mean, there's-
thinking, I never drive down Westport, ever, for any reason. So I would love that, because I don't even know what it looks like. I have nothing to say, because I've never seen the decorations on the poles.
And I've thought about that for years. Why are we doing that and not this? But
Haslet doesn't go down to Westport, and now that we have more ways to get out, like you lose Haslet once you get to Amazon, don't you?
You lose.
Basically, Amazon.
We
There's
are
nothing
all the
else.
way.
No one lives over there. Let me say it like that.
Yeah.
Past the intermodal, yeah.
Yeah. Haslet's all the way to 35 on the south side of the road. And in just my 2 cents, that's the only place I like the pole decorations, because the poles are so inconsistent in downtown. They're obscured by trees. It's hard to make those look consistent to me. They're just kind of all over the place. I like the ones on Westport because they do look uniform, and if we could always possibly add them to Haslet Parkway, that might be more traveled eventually, but that's just my 2 cents. I only like those because you can consistently put them there. And the ones down here have always been kind of a challenge because I feel like they're kind of all over the place, but that's just my thought.
I just don't really think of Westport Parkway as Haslet. I think of 156 as Haslet, personally. I know we don't have the same poles. But
you know, one thing that Goldthwait does, they put poles in just specific for their decorations. Maybe we just add some poles. I don't know.
I would say if we're gonna do that, we really need to think it out. Because I agree, if you want to do something in the downtown area, you gotta start all over from scratch. You can't use what you have today to make it work here. You'd have to start literally from scratch. Means you could leave Westport alone because you have stuff. You just have to add over here. That's not something we can decide overnight.
So for now, we're going to postpone this agenda item also because we're not ready to purchase anything. We'll just talk about it and decide. All right, so discussion regarding improvements at the city parks. We have Nance Field, Firehouse Field, Gamble Park, Community Park, Veterans Memorial Garden. We're going to put them all into one. My first topic is that there's a busted slide in the new park that David Rogers told me is on order.
It is. So it is on order. Some of those things, if they're not super common, they are custom made as they're ordered. So,
And what about the little bolts on the, somebody has cut off the mallet for the musical thing
yeah, so we ordered
and
with
untwisted those little screw bolt thingies. I don't know what
yeah
you
with
do
that order. There's 2 turnbuckles, 2
Mhm.
mallets, a slide, and there's one other item on that order. And there is they're waiting to ship them all together, but there was just a delay on it. It's been probably 2 months since I've checked in, so I probably had to check again to see if it's closer, but that was the
Yeah, I've heard it's
holdup.
been broke for a while.
It has. I mean, it's
Taped off.
we've taped it off more so recently it was usable for a while, but it's just they've damaged it more, so it's on back order.
And can someone check the roller slide thing? A
Mhm.
couple of them aren't rolling.
Okay.
And one of them is because there's a couple of rocks, like probably from
Okay.
shoes that are stuck in there. But one of them, I just couldn't move it. Didn't look like anything was blocking it. I don't know if it was screwed in too tight or they should all roll pretty easy. Because my friend that I was with
Mhm.
was like, what is this for anyway? And I was like, well, when the rollers are rolling, you're supposed to be able to, if you're not able to use your legs, lay on there and use your arms, and it's an alternative activity for kids. And we couldn't get all of them to roll.
Okay, we can look at that. There's 6 lights that are out. We replaced a handful of breakers, and we've also ordered lights. So we've tried to find a good supplier, but the lights at Nance are kind of unconventional. So we're going to stick with a different supplier, and really it's going to be an Amazon style one. So we'll try those on a set of poles if they work. We still have good lighting. It's just there is a handful that are out. And I think we could do with less lighting with different lights, but we're trying to get shielded ones to keep from having any kind of spillover. You know, that's one of the things. The ones we have now have nothing that really forces the light down. It has lots of bleed out from the sides. We're trying to find something that's at least shielded.
Are those the old halogen heads or are they LED?
It's a mix of both. So the half of the original sports slider, those were 1,500 or 1,000 watt metal halide, and those are sort of shielded. And then we replaced them with a really cheap option that was good. They're the shoebox lights, and people do use them for this purpose, but they have nothing to shield the light, and it's very hard to consistently get the same product because they're an unbranded kind of Chinese import. So that was a problem we found, is mounting and quality was all over the place. So the originals came with very good drivers and chipsets, and they were mean well, and they had optics that were suitable for this. And the second set, they were half the quality, and then there was a huge gap in getting those. So we've just decided not to continue that.
I know, just because like for the restaurants and stuff that I deal with, you can get some really good LED heads for $300 to $500 a head usually.
For the sports sliders, we're finding that at 600 is the cheapest. 1,500 is what a legitimate, reputable brand would
Do you know how many
cost.
lumens that is?
Well, it's whatever the 1,500 watt equivalent is, so it kind of varies depending on what they use for optics.
Okay.
Just randomly, is there anything we can do when there's a puddle under the swing after a heavy rain, or just wait for it to go?
Wait for it to go away, I would think would be the best. There is money in there for Gamble for a fall zone that's similar to what is in the new playground, and that should happen this year. We've reached out to the companies that put that in, and that is, it's very expensive for that little area. It's like $50,000 to put that fall material, but it lasts a long time. But their suggestion is to not do that and to do artificial turf instead, because they said anywhere there's kids putting their feet down into it, that the artificial turf holds up better than the other material. The like the marquee sign, we can paint the interior of it. I think there's some rust on it. Is there anything else besides that, or? Okay, we can paint the inside of it.
Yeah. I used to see it more when kids went.
It's being
VHSA, the flag football uses it this time, and baseball uses it all. So it's pretty much used pretty much all year except for summertime.
You good to what? You said Nance, or? Okay.
HSA has put a lot of money into improving little things that people do complain about. So
there a set budget for the Nance field or any of these fields that we're discussing, or is this something that we'd have to go request additional funding for?
Depends on what it is. So if it comes out of like, I think we bought the swing out of some money that y'all had set aside.
So
for something.
there's a maintenance budget for all the parks, including Nance, the fire station fields, and community gamble. There is an individual line item for that.
But as far as a project, like new light or a new swing or a new bench that we,
Yeah, those are if it's right.
right.
None of those things are in this budget, and a large project would be typically a capital expense, and it would be presented and added to the budget in the next year. There is not anything for like a total lighting overhaul.
Okay, parks are good. Any other questions about parks? I would just want to go back for a quick second to 5F, because I forgot to ask. When we got the light poles, I think I know the answer to this, but I don't know if everyone knows the answer to this. Were they donated light poles? The light towers?
Yes.
So we ended up, we motioned for 1,000, but we got them for free,
Absolutely.
right? Okay. So I didn't know if everyone knew that, but that was
No, and that was they even
was because
donated
our
more than
Parks
we
Board
expected
member
to. Yeah,
helped
it was a fantastic addition, and it was very appreciated. And like I said, I think we'll use them for rental for quite a bit more.
so thank you for that.
But it's a good segue, like you said, they're going to use them for future projects now
Right.
because they were willing to play ball with it. And I think a lot of these vendors for a lot of these items will be able to do that. I know if In-N-Out backed up, I think I'm going to go speak with Chick-fil-A because I know they do a lot of stuff for, because when I was speaking with Shanna, she was pretty disappointed that In-N-Out was backing out of the deal. She said it was a big draw for it, but I know that Chick-fil-A and some of these other ones do a lot of the stuff if you give enough notice to it. So.
I would love to. You can work your magic.
Get some nugget trays, I'm good with that.
So other than the consideration or discussion of adding lights to some of the playground areas, was there any other agenda item anyone wanted to have added?
I mean, you guys referenced the concession stand at Nance being under, I don't know if I would call it a renovation, but if some kind of bringing up the code as far as that for them to be able to utilize that. Because I know with the HSA, it's such a big part of the community with all the families that are moving in, that majority of them have kids that play in those sports, and to be able to have that revenue center for the HSA to generate more of its own money back and not have to draw from the city or from our budget if possible.
Can we put the concession stand area on the agenda just for discussion on what it's able to do and what it's qualified for?
I mean, because it's cinder block.
It's in the park, and we're a parks board.
Yeah, I would say the direction so far is that as it currently stands without a major renovation, that concession stand isn't really suitable for prepared food. So right now, it is absolutely, today you could open it up and sell prepackaged anything. You
Right, but
just
say we
can't
want to
prep.
sell nachos.
You cannot do that.
Correct. So
Yeah.
just like we would put on the agenda for discussion of building a new park, we could put on the agenda discussion for exploration of revamping that into something that's more usable.
I mean, you could put it on your agenda.
It's an existing structure, like
Well,
we
I
have an
mean,
existing
to get
park.
it food service worthy, you would need a hand sink, you would need
I don't know
sink
what's
to be
in
able
there.
to clean with chemicals. I mean, hand sinks are very cheap. You can buy them at Home Depot.
I would agree, and that's something I guess you could reach out and ask the
EDC?
mayor if he feels that is appropriate as an agenda item. That'd be my suggestion.
So that was one of the questions. If it's not in our scope, then how do we bring this into our scope?
EDC. I do know that. I do know that.
So we did discuss to see what it would take to bring that up, to allow them to have, food prepared in that, and it's never been really a part of, as far as the county is concerned, they like to see blueprints and wall materials and things like that, and I really don't think it would readily pass, and it would probably need a significant change, I think, to get it.
Because it's a CMU building, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's brick, but
Because I mean, you repaint it, put a sink in there as long as you have plumbing.
Yeah.
Even if
There's a 3-part wash sink in there currently. They're,
There's records.
yeah.
I mean,
And
even
they've
from
removed things, I
Mm.
mean,
you
don't-
know, health department, you have to require 110 degrees within 20 seconds of a hand sink for it to be passable for food service and such, and you can get into hot units as long as you have 220 running to it.
Right. I just know like the current guidance is right now it is totally okay to utilize it for prepackaged. And there isn't
I'm just going to
any-
throw out there that when we got a new tennis court, it took 6 years. And when we got a new playground, it took 3 years. So I don't see why it hurts to put it as a topic item. It's still going to take 3 years,
Yeah.
but.
No, I haven't found somebody pestering enough. I'm very pestering when I want to be.
Oh, you didn't know about our tennis court, friend.
Oh yeah, I saw the $500,000 tennis court. I could have built it for 2.
Also, I think the concession stands currently being used for storage for, I don't know which group in HSA, but it's
not used at all, right?
it is, somebody uses that for equipment.
I
Yeah,
don't know, I just know that they met one of the health advisors there, and he basically told them what they need to get rid of, what they need, and all that. That's what that it's been on their budget, basically.
yeah, there has to be, I just, I mean, like I said, there's,
So let's just
Anything's
tentatively
possible,
put the concession stand on next agenda pending the mayor's approval.
perfect.
All right. Sound good? All right. Anything else? Good? All right. Adjourn 8:03.